The grocery store was crowded, the usual Friday evening rush. People shuffled through the aisles, carts clattering, children tugging on their parents' sleeves, and the faint hum of fluorescent lights filling the air. But amidst the noise, something extraordinary was about to happen, something no one inside those walls would ever forget. Senator John Kennedy, dressed plainly in a sport coat and jeans, stood quietly in line like everyone else. He had come to pick up a few items before heading back home. To most shoppers, he looked like any other man, maybe a little tired from a long day. But to the cashier at Register 6, he was her last hope. Her name was Emily. Barely 24, her life had already been marked by struggle. Her husband had been laid off from the factory 2 months earlier, and she was working double shifts just to keep food on the table for her 2 little girls. The bills were piling up, the landlord had already taped a warning on her apartment door, and the weight of it all pressed against her chest like a stone. She smiled mechanically at each customer, scanning items, bagging groceries, and repeating the same words over and over, "Have a nice day." But her mind was on the eviction notice sitting on her kitchen counter, the unpaid electricity bill, and the hollow look in her children's eyes when she had told them there'd be no new shoes for school this year. When Senator Kennedy placed his items on the conveyor belt, Emily felt her heart race. She knew who he was. She'd seen his face on TV, heard his voice in speeches that sometimes gave her a strange flicker of hope. But she had never imagined he'd be standing right in front of her. Her hands trembled as she scanned his groceries, trying to think of what to do. And then, almost without realizing it, she reached under the counter and pulled out a crumpled receipt slip. With shaky handwriting, she scribbled 5 desperate words, "Please help. I'm drowning." Her hands shook so badly that she nearly dropped the pen. But she folded the slip, slipped it discreetly under his receipt, and slid it across the counter with his change. Her throat felt dry, her eyes burning with unshed tears. For a moment, she thought maybe he wouldn't notice, maybe he'd just stuff it in his pocket and leave. But then Kennedy paused. He unfolded the paper, his eyes scanning the words. And just like that, his expression shifted. He didn't brush it off. He didn't ignore her. Instead, he looked at her, really looked at her, and Emily felt like he could see the storm inside her soul. The line behind him grew restless, people shifted impatiently, muttering about the wait. But Kennedy didn't move. He set down his groceries, reached into his jacket, and pulled out his wallet. Without a word, he placed several bills on the counter, more than Emily made in a week. And then leaned forward, speaking softly enough that only she could hear. "Don't you lose hope, darlin'," he said in his familiar southern drawl. "Avrib."